Something unusual is happening in the world, where the number of millionaires is dramatically rising. That wasn't the case like 10 or 20 years ago. If you go back to the year 2000, less than 8 million people were millionaires. But in 2022, more than 23 million people had a net worth of over $1 million. It's not just happening in the United States, but the United Kingdom, China, and every single country out there. The question that I want you to ask yourself is that, why so many people across the globe are becoming millionaires? I mean, if so many people are doing it, it should not be an impossible goal to achieve. It should be something within your reality. Of course, with the inflation that we have today, $1 million doesn't sound impressive. But for most of you watching this video, $1 million is a life-changing amount. I mean, if you take that $1 million and invest it wisely and safely, you can easily make around 7 or 8% annually. 8% is like $80,000, where the average salary in the United States is around $60,000. I mean, $80,000 can get you a decent lifestyle in pretty much every single city in the United States. Of course, if you're in a city like New York or London, $80,000 is not really that much, but why would you live in New York or London when you have a passive income of $80,000, unless you work in that city and you make much more than that? Most people set really huge, ambitious goals for themselves, where they want to build a company that will rival Amazon, for example, or Facebook or Apple. Yes, it's great to be ambitious, but you first have to understand how to get to $1 million. Because when you have $1 million that is safely invested, you are financially free. That's when you have the time to actually sit down and think clearly about how to go to $10 million, to $100 million, and then to $1 billion. But right now, when you're barely paying your bills, when you're stuck in a 9-to-5 job, when you're in your 20s and you're thinking, what on earth should I do with my life? Then thinking about becoming a billionaire and building a company that will rival Airbnb, Amazon, and Apple is an absolute waste of time. The reality is that it's really easy to find out who's gonna become a millionaire in the future. And it's not like necessarily the person who is making most of the money today. Like back in college, most of my friends used to make way more money than I did back then. Because back then I wanted to try new things. I went into real estate. I started a bunch of businesses. Of course, most of them actually failed, but my friends who took low-paying jobs ended up making way more money back then. Fast forward to 2022, I'm the one who became a millionaire. But my friends who took low-paying jobs actually went after graduating and took a 9-to-5 job where they are stuck until today. So here in this video, I want to share with you 7 signs that you're a future millionaire. If you see these traits in yourself, you are on the right track, and sooner or later, you will become a millionaire. And if you don't have these traits, it's better to take action right now and make some changes in your life to actually be on the right track. You might not be making a lot of money today, but that doesn't mean that that will be the case all the time. So if you're ready, give this video a thumbs up, and let's start with the first one. You buy assets instead of liabilities. If you're a teenager, probably not much money has passed through your hands. But if you're in your 20s or 30s, you probably had a lot of money passing through your hands. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions of dollars. The question that I want to ask you is that, where is all of that money? You probably spent it on crap that you don't really need that lost most of its value. If you think about it, most of what you buy could actually be easily categorized into 2 parts. The first part is that thing that you have purchased takes money out of your pocket consistently. Let's say, for example, you saved $50,000 and instead of actually taking a loan, you purchased your car with the cash. It still takes money out of your pocket consistently. You have to buy gas every single week. You have to pay insurance every single month. And let's be honest, every single car breaks down time to time and you have to get it to the maintenance guy and change the oil. So a car is something that constantly takes money out of your pocket even though you spent $50,000 buying it. The same thing happens with the house that you have purchased. You have to pay utilities. It's always maintenance. You still have insurance on your house. And the list of expenses is really long. On the other hand, if you've actually taken that house, if you've purchased that house and you have rented it out, it turns into an asset. Rich people understand that the only way to actually build generational wealth, the wealth that actually grows, is to spend most of your money buying assets. And an asset isn't necessarily like a house. It could be a bond or it could be stocks. Whenever the price of your stocks rise, you're actually making money. Of course, you're not realizing those gains unless you sell your stocks, but in theory, you're getting rich. And if your stocks pay dividends, yes, there are stocks that actually pay dividends. Then every single quarter, you're putting money in your pocket. Buying asset is not fun because you want to buy liabilities. You want to buy the new watch. You want to buy a new car. You want to just waste your money on another vacation. But buying assets is really difficult because you have to prevent the gratification right now. You have to push yourself, you have to discipline yourself and save as much as you can so that you can afford those assets. And when you buy that property, when you buy those stocks, you don't really get anything instantly. You have to wait until your asset keeps growing and will make you money over the long run. But if you set your life in such a way that you're focused on buying more assets instead of wasting most of your money buying liabilities, then it's just a matter of time before you become a millionaire and probably a billionaire if you live as long as Warren Buffett. Number 2. You avoid as many financial responsibilities as possible. The biggest obstacle that I see people have on their way to financial freedom is that they get into too many financial responsibilities. I mean, think about that for a moment. You graduate from college and you move to a better apartment. Then you might get yourself a brand new car and now you have to make your car payments. Some people go on and get married and have kids, and the list of your expenses keep rising. So you naturally corner yourself into a position where you spend every single penny that you earn, which is why if you take a look at the statistics, 70% of Americans can't pull out $1,000 emergency bill because they are living this consumerism life where they just literally spend everything they earn. And at some point they come to a position where they find themselves that their income is not enough just to pay for everything they have actually got. So what they do is that they get loans and then they have their car loan, they have a mortgage. And that's not literally the biggest problem. The biggest problem starts when they actually get credit card loans, which is why if you look at the statistics, you will find out that the total credit card loans in the United States is over $1 trillion. And the interest on the credit card loans is not like on your mortgage, like 4, 5, 6, or 7%. It's literally over 20%. And in some cases, it could go as high as 30%. I'm not telling you that you should not have kids, you should not move to a bigger apartment, but just think about the equation that you're having. From one side, you're making money. From the other side, you're literally spending everything that you are earning. How are you supposed to get rich? How are you supposed to buy assets? How are you supposed to start investing where every penny you earn is going somewhere? So you have to get yourself out of that situation. You have to limit your financial responsibilities as much as you can, where you can actually manage to save at least like 20 or 30% of your income. I know that saving 30% of your income sounds insane, but the reality is that if you don't push yourself to get to that position, then just forget about being financially free. And that's why if you limit your financial responsibilities, if you actually say no to things that you cannot afford, that's a sign that you're financially educated. That's a sign that you are heading into the right direction. Number 3, being proactive. I remember back in college, the students who used to get bad grades, they would always find someone or something to blame, something to complain about. The teacher wasn't good enough, the textbook was really difficult to understand, or the weather was so bad that they couldn't actually focus on the test. And that's what reactive people do. They always focus on the things that they cannot control, things that are outside their control. On the other hand, if you actually take a look at the proactive people, they understand that the test was really difficult. They wouldn't really praise the teacher who was not good enough, but that's not something they are focused on. A proactive thinker would focus on what he or she can do in order to fix a situation instead of actually looking for something to blame. That's what reactive people do. So if you're a proactive person, if you approach life with this proactive mindset, then becoming a millionaire for you is a matter of time. Because with that mindset, you will find a way to make money. You will find a way to fix your problems. You will find a way to get to financial freedom. And that takes us to the next point, which is mindset. At the end of the day, everything comes down to how you approach life, to how you think about life. And here's a story that really changed my life. Once upon a time, I was sitting and having dinner with my friend, and he told me that he just ordered a brand new car, Audi Q3. Now, honestly, back then, it didn't mean anything to me. I mean, I know the brand, the car brand Audi, but Q3, I've never heard about it before. So he pulled out his phone and he showed me the car. And I've seen that car somewhere, but it's not like a popular car. On my way back to home, I was actually looking around and I started seeing these cars. And over the next 2 weeks, every time I'm stuck in the traffic and I look around and I see Audi Q3 everywhere. The question that came into my mind is that, what the hell happened? Why everyone suddenly started driving Audi Q3? How did this car become so popular over the last 2 weeks? Now, the reality is that nothing fundamentally changed. Everything stayed the same. But what has truly changed is my perspective, what I started focusing on. Since my friend told me about this car, now I'm aware about this car. And every time I'm stuck in traffic, that's the car I'm looking around to see how it looks. And that's how your brain always works. It always sees what you want to see. Whatever you focus on, that's what you see. If you're focused on finding opportunities, you will see opportunities. If you're focused on seeing obstacles, you will see obstacles. If you're thinking about how to turn the obstacle into an opportunity, that's what you see. But the problem is that most people have trained their minds over their entire life to see negative things. That's what they focus on. One person can take a look at rich people and say that he's just lucky, he got better genetics, his father helped him. But another person will look at that rich person and will say, how did he do it? What I can learn from him? What exactly did he do differently? So you have two people looking the exact same situation and coming out with two different conclusions. If you wake up every single morning and you're thinking that you're an average person living a 9-to-5 job, and that's basically what your life should be about, then that's what your brain will focus on. On the other hand, if you focus on thinking that you will become a millionaire, you will build a successful business, then you will stop wasting time, you will stop scrolling endless TikToks and start thinking about what I'm supposed to do, which business should I start, and you will use your time more productively building businesses that will eventually end up bringing you millions of dollars. Number 5, you value your time. Do you know why people get wiser as they get older? It's because they start understanding that their time is limited. When you're in your 20s, you have plenty of free time, which is why you don't really value your time at all. You start wasting it on nonsense, start playing video games or whatever. But as you approach your 30s and 40s, you start realizing, wait a second, I'm not gonna live forever. There is a deadline on my life. So it's better for me to take the best advantage out of my time. I mean, if you just look around, you will find out that most people around you don't respect time. They don't really care about their time, although that their time is their life. But the people who respect the time more than anything else, the people who value their time more than anything else, these are the people who want to get rich. I mean, just imagine for a moment what money allows you to do. It literally allows you to buy back your time. You have to do your laundry, you have to cook, you have to do your cleaning and so on. All of these things could be delegated if you have time. That's the reason why super rich people usually buy private jets, because instead of actually rescheduling your time and trying to fit the airlines and then wasting your time in the airport, they just buy the plane so that they can save as much time as they can. For most people watching this video, it's extremely difficult to understand that, because I would rather spend an extra hour in the airport than just pay $20,000 an hour to fly somewhere. But that's not how the ultra rich person thinks about, because his priority is to save as much time as he can. You can always get the money that you have spent or wasted somewhere, but you can never recover the time that you have already wasted. So if you're someone who values time, who respects time, then you will naturally start thinking about, all right, how do I save my time? Yes, the best way is to make as much money as I can so I can delegate everything and spend most of my time on the things that matter to me. Number 6, you try to be a producer instead of a consumer. The first thing that you do when you wake up is that you probably pick up your phone and check your Instagram, you scroll through some TikToks or Instagram reels, and then you drive to your work and do some work. But meanwhile, while you're working, you most likely grab a snack and then watch some YouTube videos and so on and so forth. If you just pay attention at how you spend your day, you most likely spend it mostly consuming something instead of producing. And that's the difference between somebody who wants to stay poor and someone who's striving to be rich. Because a rich person thinks with a completely different mindset. His priority is always is that, how do I produce more? And that's why you see often poor people say is that, if I had billions of dollars, I would do this, I would buy that, I will do this, I will go on that vacation. On the other hand, if you look at the richest people in the world, the people who have billions of dollars, these are the most hard-working people in the world. I mean, think of Elon Musk. This guy does not have to work another day in his life. I mean, he has made like, what, $250 billion? And yet, when he wakes up every morning, he has one mindset. His mentality is like, how do I create, how do I produce today as much as I can? How do I produce today more than I produced yesterday? Or think of Donald Trump. I don't want to politicize this video, whether you like Trump or you hate Trump, but you have to acknowledge the fact that the guy is like 77 years old, and instead of retiring, since he has like billions of dollars, he can literally enjoy his life and doesn't care about politics or anything else in this world. No, he's running for a re-election and he has the entire Republican Party under his fist. Try to be a Republican without actually supporting Trump. You're dead. I mean, think about what's happening with Nikki Haley. So I want you to stop for a moment and ask yourself this very simple, basic question. Why on earth these people who can actually retire spending so much time producing instead of consuming? That's because they have reprogrammed their brain since early on in order to focus on producing. That's what they do in their entire lives. That's why they get richer. So if you have that character, if you have a trait where you're constantly obsessed and focused on producing instead of consuming, it's just a matter of time before you become a millionaire. Number 7, you focus on creating multiple sources of income. Most people live their lives focusing on creating one source of income where they trade their time for money, whether they are doing accounting or a doctor or an engineer. And it's absolutely fine because that's the easiest way to make money, where you trade your time for money. You get better at your job, you get better in your skills, and the more money you start getting paid. But the problem is that when you put all of your eggs in one basket, what happens when you lose that egg? What happens when you lose that basket? You lose everything. And that's why if you take a look at the athletes, you will find out that the overwhelming majority of all athletes go bankrupt after 5 years of retirement. I mean, becoming an athlete, making money by being an athlete is brutally hard. Yes, you will make a lot of money, but the competition is fierce to get there. But even if you make it, at the end of the day, if you don't use that money to diversify your income, to create alternative sources of income such as real estate or stocks or bonds, once you retire, you will end up broke again. I mean, even Mike Tyson, the guy who made like hundreds of millions of dollars, is probably the best boxer in the history, and yet he went bankrupt. Because instead of using his income to create multiple sources of income, he actually just spent it on everything else. He spent it on a lavish lifestyle and useless cars. So if you focus on just creating one source of income, it's great, maximize it, but don't let it be the only source of income. Take that money, learn about the stock market, learn about the real estate, understand how to pick the right stocks, and then use that money to create an investment portfolio that will slowly start generating income for you. So after 5 to 10 years, you don't have just one source of income, you have 2, 3, or 4. The reason why the top 1% keeps getting richer is that they invest literally most of their money in the stock market. And that's why probably over 50% of the entire stock market is owned by the top 1%. That's how they increase their wealth. That's how they keep getting richer, which is why you should focus on learning how the stock market works and make it one of your sources of income. I will leave a link in the description for the people who are interested in understanding and learning how the stock market works.